Welcome to the morning after show. Grant Cohn, Ryan Hensley. Usually it's the morning after a game. Niners didn't play on Sunday, so it's the morning after other games. It's the morning after Sunday, so it counts.
Morning after a good night's sleep.
Morning after a good night's sleep, I feel refreshed. I did an all-nighter after the Niners game on Thursday, and it wrecked me.
Yeah.
Wrecked me. But I feel good now. We're going to be talking about what the Niners need to work on down the stretch because it's an interesting position they're in. 3 games left. Clinched a position in the playoffs. You know, each individual game doesn't mean that much, so it's an opportunity to rest certain people or not overuse them and improve on things you need to improve. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the quarterbacks and John Lynch. But first I want to talk about the Pro Bowl. Let's sit back for a second and appreciate how good the Niners have been. They're one of the best teams in the league. They should have some of the most Pro Bowlers of any team. Can we go through and list how many excellent players on this team should, or you think will, make it to the Pro Bowl this year? Will.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. I'll follow your lead.
All right, I'll start with the best player on the team, Nick Bosa.
Definitely.
No question. He could be the Defensive Player of the Year. He could be the MVP. He's the best player on the best unit in the league.
Absolutely. I think Nick
And
Bosa-
he's a bargain. He's on a rookie deal. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, it's hard to believe. Sometimes you forget how young he is and that he's still on a rookie deal. As good as he is, definitely the best player on this team to me, by far on the defense. He makes everybody around him better. He makes the linebackers better. The defensive backs look better because of Nick Bosa. He player on the team. Literally, if you take Nick Bosa out, it's a different team, I think. And absolutely, he makes the Pro Bowl, no question.
They go from probably having, they have the best defense in the league right now. If you take Bosa off, they have a very good defense. A very good defense, but not the best. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they still might be the best, but I mean, he's just the pressure that he puts on the quarterback changes everything for the entire defense. He makes everybody.
All right. Who you got next?
Next would be after Nick Bosa. He's to me it's tough, but I think Dre Greenlaw is to me is my favorite or my top player after Nick Bosa on this defense. It's a toss-up between him and the other linebacker that we'll talk about soon. But Dre Greenlaw, man, and, shout out to you for calling it before the season that he would lead the team in tackles. He does. He's killing it. He's the guy that hurts the offense. He's the guy that puts the fear in the offense. Dre Greenlaw, to me, definitely Pro Bowler.
I'm glad that you put him second. I would go Fred Warner next. Those two are just devastating in the middle for the Niners. They get sideline to sideline. They're good in coverage. They're good against the run. Fred Warner, no-brainer. Those two should both make it. I'm not sure that Greenlaw will because he's not like a household name yet, but he's had some big games on primetime. He should be.
Yeah, it's tough. Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, it's tough for me to figure out who's better, but they're both.
They're a good combination.
Yeah, together. They're really good together. So they're both, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, unquestioned, definite Pro Bowlers. I think if we're going to another player that's unquestionable Pro Bowler, I'd go to the offensive side, which would be Christian McCaffrey. Even though he's only been on the team 6-7 weeks or whatever it's been, he's the MVP of the 49ers offense. He's changed the 49ers offense tremendously.
Every play goes, he gets the touch, he gets the ball every time. The play is give the ball to Christian, break.
Yeah, he's the offense. He made Jimmy better. He's made Brock Purdy. He's the safety for all these guys. I mean, he has a passing touchdown. He has receiving touchdowns, running touchdowns. He's just doing everything. So Christian McCaffrey, without doubt, should be a Pro Bowler.
I looked it up. He leads NFC running backs in yards from scrimmage over Saquon Barkley. So he's going to make it. Also, Juszczyk makes it by default every year. Not that he's a bad player. He's a good player, but it's like he's like running unopposed for student council or something. So Juszczyk, of course. And then one more real quick. Well, you can go ahead. I mean, I took Juszczyk. Go ahead. You go.
Yeah, on Juszczyk, you're right. Yeah, I mean, how many fullbacks are out there? But, yeah, he deserves to make it just because there's not many. I'm going to go Huff, man. Huff has been one of the top safeties in the NFL. I believe he has, 4 interceptions now. Definitely could be a candidate for, most improved player from his previous year. He's been great. Now he does have some weaknesses in pass coverage, but when everything's in front of him, he's one of the best safeties.
Hold on. So he's in 14 games. He's got 4 picks, 2 forced fumbles, 8 pass breakups, and a touchdown. and 2 quarterback hits and
Yeah.
76 tackles. Like, hell yeah, absolutely. And he does need to he needs to improve his coverage lapses because Patrick Mahomes will and has taken advantage, but he's a Pro Bowler for sure.
Yeah, as much as and I love Huff, he's probably one of my favorite 49ers, honestly, right now. But he's a little scary concerning in the pass coverage against some top end quarterbacks. So we'll see about him, but I think he's definitely deserving of making the Pro Bowl.
All right, you went back to the defense. I'll stay with the defense. Charvarius Ward should be a Pro Bowler. I don't know if he'll make it because I think the Niners, like their defense, the front seven gets all the love. The linebackers and the defensive linemen, I think people think the back end maybe has it easy, or I don't know, but I think he's been just as valuable as Hufanga. Hufanga's the playmaker, the high risk, high reward, has a feeling, leaves his zone, but most of the time he's right. Charvarius Ward is just a lockdown cornerback. He has he has a pick or two, and but that's not really what his game is. His game is to just force you to throw somewhere else. Oh, Charvarius Ward's on that guy? I'm not going there. And he does that job really well. He's given up a few catches, but nothing big so far except for the one against Kansas City late in the game, but he was hurt that game. So essentially he's been lights out this season. Good for Charvarius. I think he deserves to make it.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's one of the guys I think has benefited. Him and Huff both have benefited from Bosa. But regardless, you got to look at what they're doing on the field, and they're doing a great job.
Yes.
So I agree with that. Let me throw a curveball in here. Mitch Wishnowsky, punter.
Wow. Okay. Make the case for Mitch.
Man, he's just pinning the ball within the 10-yard line over and over and over again. He's been consistently good. I don't remember a bad punt from Mitch all season. He's to me I've been praising him all year. I think he's deserving of making the Pro Bowl. I like Mitch. I don't follow a lot of punters league-wide, but from what I'm seeing with Mitch Wishnowsky all year, very consistent, pinning the ball within the 10-yard line, doing a great job. So I would definitely have Mitch in there.
Okay, that's a curveball. Wow. So hold on, we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. All right. How about Trent Williams? Now, I mean, he's not having as great of a year as he's had in the past, but I mean, just on reputation alone, he's going to the Pro Bowl. Yeah. He's still a very good player, Trent Williams.
I think that's fair. Definitely, he's one of the top players in the NFL. So based on reputation alone, and he's not like he's done a bad job. This might not be his best season in his career, but he's doing a great job. And you can honestly argue Aaron Banks is deserving. If you look at what he's actually doing, not allowing sacks, Aaron Banks is doing a tremendous job. He's a second-year guy, so he probably won't get that attention. Yeah. But you can make an argument that Aaron Banks is deserving of making.
He's definitely borderline, and if he doesn't make it this year, he can make it in. I don't think he'll make it this year. You can say he should make it, but I don't think he will. But he's looking like he could be a Pro Bowler sooner than later.
Yeah. I'd vote for him.
Okay. Fair enough. How about look, I'm a big critic of his, but George Kittle. I mean, if George Kittle isn't going to make it in the NFC as one of the top 3 tight ends, who are you putting in there?
Yeah, I mean, this one's tough for me because, based on reputation, based on what else is out there, you could make a point that he deserves to be a Pro Bowl. Has this been a great season for him? Not really. No. People like to, talk about his run blocking. Run blocking overall for the 49ers hasn't been that great. So I don't think that's a big thing. He hasn't had a lot of big games. Do I think he has Pro Bowl talent and one of the top 3 tight ends in the NFC? Yes. Do I think he's putting up Pro Bowl numbers this year? No. But I could see it.
Well, I mean, I just feel like compared to other, like if you look at the tight ends in the NFL and just rank them by receiving yards, I think he'd be probably top 3 in the NFC. So he's probably going to make it. That being said, no, he's not what he used to be, and he used to be their best run blocker. Now he's one of their run blockers.
Yeah, and I think I'm grading him on a scale, based on his talent. Right. Obviously he might be leading other tight ends in receiving yards. I just think he's just capable of so much more, and we saw it last week against the Seahawks. He's capable of doing that every week. So I just like to see more from George Kittle, and I don't necessarily think it's his fault as much as just it's just not playing out for him this year as far as targets.
We just listed 10 players. You could argue Tabor Pepper Some people, he's gotten a whole social media campaign behind him. I'm not qualified to really judge long snappers, but he's supposed to be good. That could be 11. And then there's some other snubs. You mentioned Aaron Banks. He could be close. He could be deserving. And then there's one more. It's too bad he missed 5 games, but Jimmy Ward is playing like a shutdown nickelback suddenly, even though it's not his position. So I don't know. Maybe he'll make it on. He's never been a Pro Bowler. If there's one guy who deserves to make a Pro Bowl based on like career body of work, even though he missed 5 games in the season, it's Jimmy Ward. So I'd almost want to put him in there. I would vote for him. Yeah. Vote for Jimmy, man. He missed 5 games, but then he had to change positions, and he's never been to a Pro Bowl. Give him a Lifetime Achievement Award. Jimmy.
And just an honorable mention, a guy who's playing really well, won't make the Pro Bowl, I'm sure. Gibson, Tashawn Gibson, has had a great, solid season. I don't think he gets talked. Gets talked about the least out of everybody on the 49ers defense, but he's really played solid football all year.
And he's made some plays too. The one guy we haven't named and won't name and doesn't deserve it, and it's kind of too bad considering what he went through this offseason, but what he put the Niners through this offseason and how much they paid him is Debo. Like, not even close. And now he's hurt. That's part of it. But next year, they need a bounce-back year from Debo. They're paying him a ton of money, and he needs to give them a ton of touchdowns and stay healthy and all of that. So that's the one. It was funny that they've been able to, like, be fine without him, essentially, this year, but that's not the plan moving forward.
Bringing up Debo makes me want to bring up one other player that we haven't talked about yet, and that's Brandon Ayuk.
True.
I think he has Pro Bowl level talent, and if he was targeted a little more, he could have reached those kind of numbers to where he reached the Pro Bowl. I think Brandon Ayuk's had a far better year than Debo Samuel this year.
I agree. Like, Brandon Ayuk's has played at a Pro Bowl caliber, but doesn't have Pro Bowl numbers because of the offense he's in, and maybe the quarterback he played with for a while. But Debo just didn't have a Pro Bowl year.
Yeah.
Debo just needs to do better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
That's it. Friend say Taylor is top 15 quarterback better than Jimmy. Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke. I'd rather have Taylor Heineke than Jimmy. Younger, cheaper, more mobile. Taylor Heineke's a lot like Purdy.
He's like Purdy.
Yeah.
That's what he reminds me of.
Pretty much. I think it's me. I'm really curious to see what happens to Jimmy Garoppolo when he leaves the nest. Go out on your own. Go to the Raiders. What's gonna? I can't wait to see it. Maybe he really will just keep winning. Maybe.
That was one of the things I was looking forward to the most this season, was seeing Jimmy Garoppolo play on another team, and we didn't get to, but looking forward to it. It's gonna be good TV.
Yeah, Jose says it's crazy how we could potentially finish the season with a 10-game win streak, and I don't see anyone acknowledge this. Also, give Ayuk and Mason the ball. Dude, they could finish the season on a freaking 14-game winning streak if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They might never lose again. All right, we're going to get into some more stuff. I want to give out some holiday gifts to the 49ers. Because, Christmas is around the corner. Hanukkah's around the corner. I think Kwanzaa's around the corner. So it's time to give out some gifts. Who would you what would you give to who?
Lead on this one. I had a business meeting. I didn't have time, but I'm really intrigued with this subject. So I'm going to let you lead with this one, and I'll follow up if that's okay.
All right. How about Kyle Shanahan? My gift to Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Jordan Mason. I would put him in gift wrap, and I would deliver it to him on a platter. I'd say, this is get to know number 24.
Yeah.
He's a terrific running back, and he's the perfect complement to Christian McCaffrey. Get to know him, meet his parents, ask him what his favorite color is. This is your new running back, Jordan Mason. I would give Mason him as a gift because I still think he's searching for him.
I think that's a good present. Maybe John Lynch gave it to him already, and he just hasn't unwrapped it. Very good.
I got another one. Christian McCaffrey, a bench and an oxygen mask. Dude, sit down and breathe. You know what I'm saying? He needs like a hyperbaric chamber. He needs to really recover fast. So just a straight up bench and an oxygen mask, and that's it. That's what you get for Christmas.
That's good. I like that. Dang. Let me see. I would. This one's kind of mean, but I love Trey Lance, man. But I'd give him some clippers. Fade that thing up, man. He would look so much better. Nice and clean. That's my guy, Trey Lance.
For Trey, I was gonna say a flip phone. Dog, you got to get off social media entirely, man, because you're competing against a grinder now, And you
Yeah.
can't be the dude who's like following every Instagram model and like getting caught at local house party. It can't happen anymore, man. So flip phone, and you just live that like 2004 life. You pretend in your world it's 2004. That's you. Flip phone, a Nokia,
There you go.
a Motorola.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is tough. I would give man, we got to give D'Amico something. What would you give D'Amico?
I would give him a book on espionage because he needs to learn how to spy the damn quarterback on third down.
Yeah.
He needs to read up on James Bond, all the great spies he needs to know about, because he's so surprised when a quarterback runs for 15 yards on 3rd and 13. And I feel like that's what's going to ruin this Niners season, is they're going to get all the way to the end, and it's going to be Jalen Hurts or freaking Josh Allen who runs for 40 yards on 3rd and 27, and the Niners like, oh, we would have won the Super Bowl except for that 3rd and 20. Yeah. So James, the entire collection of James Bond movies for.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, including the T. Dalton series. A lot of people don't talk about the Timothy Dalton movies in the late 80s. Great movies. I grew up on Pierce Brosnan. Underrated movies, but T. Dalton was kind of understated.
Yeah.
I kind of like T. Dalton.
T. Dalton.
Didn't what's his face in I Love You Man like do like the T. Dalton pose? Like which Bond am I going for? T. Dalton was like the most restrained. Sorry, holiday gifts.
Holiday gifts for the Niners. Oh,
How about Brock Purdy?
I would give him like insoles, raise him up a little bit.
I was gonna say creatine.
Creatine. Oh man, I like Brock. This is all fun and games, man. Not trying to pick on anybody, but Brock Purdy. He
just looks like a rookie. I bet you he'll look a lot more built next year. Every rookie looks a whole lot different in their second year. Nothing against Brock, but he's going to be putting in with the work he does this offseason. I mean, he doesn't have to develop as a quarterback. He needs to develop as a man, as an athlete, and he will. He's on the 49ers. I bet you he looks different next year. Yeah,
he looks like a teenager. He's still young, very young kid.
That bodes well for his arm strength too. He's gonna get stronger.
Yeah, I wonder about does arm strength translate to stronger passes? I don't know. Because
no, it's more mechanics. But if that in conjunction with workouts with Tom House, Now I'm sure that Tom Brady doesn't do a whole lot of like curls and like super bench press, but still just overall added strength, core strength, all of it will help. I'm not saying he needs to do like 8,000 curls a day. I don't think that's how it works. But just general, I'm sure they know what to do with him.
Yeah,
he'll be stronger.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they during the before the season, before the draft, he went and trained, and they increased his miles per hour by like 4 miles per hour with training mechanics. So I think that's the biggest thing. I remember in high school we had these skinny dudes that could throw the hell out the ball, and then you had these big strong dudes that had no power on it. So I think it's mechanics is more than anything.
There's a reason why Tom Brady's arms seem to get stronger as he got older.
Yeah.
Just saying. Yeah. So, anything else?
Shoot, man. I love this game.
How about Dre Greenlaw? How about an all-pro selection for Dre Greenlaw? Simple as that.
Yeah, he deserves it, man. That's
Simple
a good present. That would be a good present for him. Maybe Jordan Mason, give him some touches, some first half touches. That'd be a good present for him.
I was gonna say Jawan Jennings a Target gift card because he needs some freaking targets.
What about Kittle? What would you give Kittle? Yeah, gotta give Kittle something.
Some Popeye spinach. He lost that Popeye power he used to have, man. I would say he used to have explosive power as a blocker. Now, he's out there doing his thing like Tyler Croft and Mike McGlinchey. So that's some of that Popeye spinach, man. I think he needs it. Maybe
some like old WWF video VHS tapes.
Yeah, the Ultimate Warrior, get hyped up. Hero Winchester says, if you had to choose to keep 5 players to be cornerstones in this team and get rid of everyone else, who would you pick? You got 3 seasons to win the Super Bowl.
It's a good one. Like right now at this age group, are they this age? Because that's crucial for me.
Yeah, right now. Who do you keep?
5 players at this age. Warner and Greenlaw. Gotta have
linebackers. Are 2 of the 5 are gonna be linebackers? Yikes! I feel you. But we gotta be careful here, man.
Yeah,
that's allocate our. One's got to be Bosa, and he's gonna make a lot of money.
That's 3.
I mean,
Whew.
I'm we're going to talk about this later, but Purdy's intriguing. Not because he's one of the 5 best players on the team, but a quarterback making $900K for the next 3 years, that's a
cool.
Super Bowl window. But I mean, if you can't keep the whole team together, you only can keep 5, and maybe that's different. So I don't know how to play this game. I'm caught off guard, but it's a good question.
It's tough.
Purdy is interesting because if he is good, not even great, but good at this price point, and the Niners can keep this team together, maybe even add to it on the O line, that's a Super Bowl window for 3 years. So
definitely CMC. I'm throwing CMC in there. I think it's the quarterback is the question for me. I don't know if it's Brock or Trey for me. Honestly, I don't know.
You could honestly argue it's 5 guys in the defense, man. You could argue it's Bosa, Warner, Greenlaw, Hufanga, Ward, Trevarius. You could argue it's those 5 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the team.
Yeah.
That's the team. So I don't know. But that's defense. It's all defense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question. I like that. That was a brain teaser.
Thank you.
Give Purdy a right tackle. Thank you. There it is. That's the right answer. Right tackle, right guard.
Good one.
That to me is the big difference between the Niners and the Eagles this year. Not even necessarily the quarterback, because Purdy's playing pretty well right now. He's hot. The offensive lines, man. I mean, they might have 5 Pro Bowl offensive linemen in Philly. I don't know. The Niners have 1, and it's on rep. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe 2 Banks, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into what the Niners need to work on, let's talk about the job John Lynch has done this year. A lot of people are saying that Kyle Shanahan should be coach of the year. He's in the conversation. I just don't see how he can take that from Nick Sirianni, who's got 1 loss and developed that quarterback very quickly. On the other hand, I feel like John Lynch has a very good argument to be the executive of the year. Once again, I think his competition will be the dude in Philly, Howie Roseman. But move for move, I feel like Lynch comes out on top at least this year. I mean, Roseman traded for A.J. Brown. Niners traded for McCaffrey. So far, both trades looking like great trades so far.
Yeah.
But the difference is John Lynch drafted Brock Purdy this year. And that's like the draft pick of the century. And I think that's the trump card right there.
He's done a lot of great things, right? Signed Greenlaw when he was cheap, because if he's trying to sign him now, it'd be tough. Charvarius Ward, like you said, Gibson was a great pickup as well. And honestly, Jimmy Garoppolo was a great signing, to be honest. I know we could have gone to Brock Purdy earlier and it would have been just as good, if not better. Who knows? But having that depth where you have Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, all for the price that they got him for, it's all tremendous.
Because also, if you had gone to Brock Purdy week 2 or week 3, he could be the one who's hurt right now. So, right. I mean, and that's another reason why I feel like no on Kyle for coach of the year. Man, you got to find a way to keep your quarterbacks healthy. And you can't just say that that's football or it's not my fault, because it happens every year. But that's not John Lynch's fault. Yeah. You could say it's his fault because Mike McGlinchey's the starting right tackle, which is fair. But it's not McGlinchey's fault that Trey Lance got hurt. It's Kyle's fault. It's not McGlinchey's fault that Jimmy got hurt. Well, okay. Still, I feel like Kyle bears more responsibility on this quarterback injury issue than Lynch does, and you got to give Lynch credit, for having at least 3 guys, maybe even 4. But this Purdy thing, dude, it's got to tip the scales in his favor, man. Mr. Irrelevant, and they may not lose a regular season game with him. I don't think anyone can match that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And even before the season started, most people were saying that the 49ers have the strongest roster in the NFL, and that's directly John Lynch, right? You got to give John Lynch his credit for that. Just if you just look at the roster, strongest roster in the NFL, that's directly a result of John Lynch.
And again, so if people say that, this is where I don't understand the Kyle Shanahan thing. It's like most people agree it's the best roster or one of 2 in the league. Then how do you reconcile with the fact that their record is what it is? Like, they have 4 losses. You could argue that other coaches might have 3 losses, 2 losses, 1 loss. Not that Kyle's bad, but he started slow. And now he's killing it right now. And he gets credit for that, for sure. That's why I think he's in the conversation, even though he started slow. But other coaches didn't, Other coaches just took care of business the whole time.
I mean, I'll give Kyle gets some credit for building the roster with John Lynch.
That's true.
He does get some credit for
but he doesn't get credit for that in the coach of the year
Not in the coach of the year
vote,
aspect. No, not in the coach of
but
the
he
year
does
aspect.
just in terms of our
Just in
hearts.
general.
He's number one. That's why he's number one in our hearts, because
Yeah.
we know he does a
Right.
little bit more. Yeah.
For me, coach of the year should go to, and this is the only reason why I wouldn't say Kyle Shanahan's coach of the year, even though, again, I don't attack me. He's done well, third string quarterbacks, doing good. But the reason why for me, when I think of coach of the year, it's the coach that does the
The
most with the
most with the
least.
least. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. And who would that be for you this year?
Honestly, man, like depending on what happens these next 3 weeks, I said it when we talked last year, it was kind of a joke, but I was kind of serious. And you're gonna laugh at me right now again. But depending on what happens these next 3 weeks, Dan Campbell could be
Oh,
somebody
damn.
that's a possibility for coach of the year. This guy might
Hold
make the
on. Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah. And we're talking about giving the 49ers credit for finishing strong. Well, freaking Detroit's won 6 of 7.
And
And
they
the
got
only
three,
game they lost in this stretch was a 3-point loss to Buffalo.
they
So,
got three winnable games coming up. They can make the playoffs with this
no, that's a
roster.
great call, man. That's a really good call. I think that's the right answer, actually.
Mm-hmm.
How many coaches could do more with the Lions than Dan Campbell has done this season?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And shout
Maybe
out
Jeff
to
Saturday.
yeah, yeah, man. And
Things were going good for Jeff Saturday until he had the worst loss ever.
in the history.
Hey, it's like, hey, you wanted to be a head coach? Put this on your resume, bud. I love how the football karma seems so real, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to be a head coach?
Yeah.
Here, let's get your hopes up, have a good start. Boom! Biggest loss ever. Own that. That's your legacy forever. And that's even, beyond like that goes on his legacy for his children. Their children's children is rough. It's rough.
And what sucks too is he took the biggest loss in NFL history on a Saturday, and his name's Jeff Saturday.
I'm telling you, man, the football guys have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Salasafati says, "Do you guys think Shanahan and Lynch are as in lockstep as everyone thinks? I approach Lance, spend a ton of resources on highlight tape and running backs. I don't know.
I get the impression they are. I get the impression they agree with a lot of things.
Most things. It seems like they have a good working relationship. I'm sure they disagree on certain things. I do remember that John Lynch almost left this offseason and almost went to Amazon.
Yeah. Prime.
So you always wonder what that was about. Maybe it was just a money thing, but he came back essentially.
Well, the fact that he came back, he was offered a ton of money, and he came back. So $10 million a year, I think.
Yeah. So he was like, "Well, let me just go back to the Niners real quick and win that Executive of the Year, and then we'll talk."
Right.
Gotta love that.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about what the Niners need to work on. The Niners have won 7 in a row. You could argue they have no weaknesses. They figured it out. They'll never lose again. Still, they haven't faced Buffalo. They haven't faced Philly. They haven't faced the teams they're going to have to face down the stretch. To give themselves the best chance to win the whole shebang-a-bang, what do you think the offense still needs to work on, especially in these last 3 regular season games?
Well, as good as they are and as good as they do, I mean, the 49ers could win the Super Bowl, and I'll have things I want them to improve on. It's just the way I am. But as far as what the offense needs to work on, is the run game, in my opinion. I feel like the run game could be stronger between the tackles. They could still run Jordan Mason more, and they could do a better job of risk versus reward, minimizing certain players from injury by using them sparingly, and then, throwing out rookies, stronger players. Like Jordan Mason, to me, should be getting 10, 15 carries per game every game right now, and take a little bit of the load off of Christian McCaffrey, save him, keep him healthy for the postseason, and just in general do a better job of running the ball, yards per carry.
Yeah, I think this running game is an issue because McCaffrey's great, but I think what could happen in the playoffs is if teams shut him down as a running back, which teams have done on the Niners, then you're going to have too much on Brock Purdy. He's going to have to pass too much. He's a complimentary player making $900K. And you need to have the run game working. And like, I'm looking at McCaffrey, and it's not his fault, but 2.7 yards per carry against the Chargers, 2.9 yards per carry against the Saints, 3.8 yards per carry against the Dolphins, 4.1 yards per carry against Seattle. If this happens in the playoffs, they got a big problem. And the reason is not McCaffrey. It's that they can't run right. They can only run left. And in any sport, if you're one-handed, if the defense knows we don't really have to honor this side of the field, you're screwed. You're not going to be really good at running the ball. So they got to find a way to run the ball to the right. You got to make yourself balanced in the run game somehow. And I don't think it's running outside zone to the right. I mean, McGlinchey, Burford, and Kittle at the point of attack isn't scaring anyone like it used to. I think you need to run power, run between the tackles, run off tackle, use Mason. You got to find ways to run to the ball to the right. Otherwise, yeah, you're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I got another thing. How about Brunskill? They keep putting Burford in there. I understand it. He played tackle in college. He's got future. He's good in pass protection, but I always felt that Brunskill was a hell of a run blocker. And I don't exactly know why they just buried him this year. I thought he had a good year last year. He's a free agent next year. I don't really understand what's going on there. I feel like maybe go run, give Brunskill a little more run. Or
maybe
just start him.
Maybe they're thinking long term with Burford. I don't know. That
Fair.
might be what it is.
Yeah, maybe.
Trying to develop him. Maybe they think they're not that much different, so they're thinking long term.
Probably.
But yeah, I think run game is the number one thing the offense needs to work on, and maybe getting George Kittle involved more often. More touches for George Kittle would be big for me.
Because I think what we've seen with Purdy is once you get him in 3rd and long, I don't think he really has the arm to consistently drop back, stand in the pocket, and rip it past the first down marker the way that even Jimmy does. Like, he's going to throw short of the sticks, or he's going to scramble around and maybe get it past the sticks, or he's going to force it past the sticks and get in trouble. That's just the way I see him right now. So I think that their whole emphasis on offense has to be staying out of 3rd and long. And with the money they spend on all these weapons and the running backs they have, they shouldn't be in 3rd and long unless Kyle gets pass happy or they commit a bunch of holding penalties. So
you know what is a statistic that surprised me, and I haven't checked it after this weekend, but I think going into the Seahawks game, Jimmy Garoppolo had more yards per attempt than Brock Purdy. But it doesn't feel like it when you're watching Brock Purdy. You feel like he's connected longer, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the completions that we're seeing versus the attempts. But I thought Brock Purdy was stretching the field more, and it seems like he is. But surprisingly, Jimmy Garoppolo had more yards per attempt.
Well, Jimmy really, really hammers that 10 to 15 yard range. He throws a lot of intermediate passes. Purdy, I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like he does. It seems like he throws a lot of short passes, and he hits the deep ones too, which is kind of an interesting combination. But I haven't seen him throw the 15-yard dig route, which is what Jimmy does all the time. I haven't seen him throw a bunch of those. I haven't seen him really hit the deep out or the deep comebacks, but the pump and go, the stuff outside the numbers deep, the wheel routes, the stuff that Jimmy missed, he's hitting. So that's the way I see it. But you're right. His yards per attempt are relatively low for a Niners quarterback.
Yeah, he's actually connecting when he does go semi-deep. He doesn't go deep like Trey Lance. He's not hitting 30-yard, 40-yard passes, but he is connecting on these 20 25-yard. Yeah, and he's doing it when he does throw them, he connects. Whereas Jimmy would throw them, but he wasn't connecting. So maybe that's the difference in the numbers that we're seeing.
I got one more thing I think the Niners should work on, and this is a tough one, but the 2-minute drill. They're always winning. You never see the Niners hurry up on offense because they usually don't have to. A few times this year, earlier in the season when Garoppolo was the quarterback, they were losing, they were down late, and they didn't hurry up on offense. And people were like, what the hell is going on? Recently, Kurt Benkert, who used to be on the Niners practice squad, isn't on a team right now, and he's doing some streaming. He was streaming during this last game, the Niners against the Seahawks, and he was talking to whoever he was on with and said that the Niners actually don't practice 2-minute drills during the week. They feel like you only have so many hours to practice things, and since they're in 2-minute drills so infrequently, it's a waste of time for them to do it. I get it. In a sense, maybe it is, but eventually you're going to need to be able to do that. So if you don't dedicate any time to it in practice, I don't know, man, maybe do some of it during the game. Find a time to work on this with your rookie quarterback and all these players who haven't played with them very much, because you're going to have to do it eventually, and you can't just not go hurry up. You can't just be like, we're going to win the Super Bowl and never be trailing the rest of the year. We're just going to get a lead in the first half, sit on people, win. Eventually you're not going to be able to win that way. And you have the talent to win another way, but not if you don't practice it. So the 2-minute drill.
So I think this is a story that we could look back on and it could be a big deal because
Yeah.
in the playoffs, I expect things to tighten up, and
Yeah.
they might need this 2-minute drill. And if for some reason we have a 2-minute drill, we don't do well in it, this could be a big story looking back on it and something that the Niners end up regretting. Hopefully not. Hopefully they just, continue to beat teams by substantial amounts and it's not an issue, but it's concerning a little bit.
This was one of the things they talked about with Trey. Like, hey, Trey's not ready. He's never run a 2-minute drill. Okay, well, then this is important, right? So what was interesting was Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a 31-year-old vet and been on the team 6 years, didn't feel like he could just do it on his own. If Kyle's not calling it, they're not doing it. With Brock, he's played a lot of football. I'm sure he's done this in college. And there was that moment in the last game where he hurried the offense up to the line of scrimmage on 4th and 7 and drew that offsides penalty that makes me feel like he just might have enough moxie and experience to do this on his own. I mean, he told George Kittle to shut up on national television. He might just tell Kyle Shanahan we're going fast right now. I hope he does. I like that about him. Because I feel like too much these days, quarterbacks are straight up robots and joysticks for whatever the coach wants to do, and they can't think for themselves. Oh, the play didn't come in quickly enough, so we took a delay. Call a damn play, dude. You're the quarterback. In the 80s, quarterbacks call their own plays all the time. And Peyton Manning did it, So anyway, I like a quarterback who can, it's like, oh, you know what? I'll just make a call. I'll make a decision. Do it, Brock.
Brock, to me, he strikes me as the kind of guy, if he, for some reason, is able to maintain the starting position for a year or two, he seems like he's going to be the kind of guy to transition into that level of leadership where he's like, no, Kyle, we're doing this. He seems like that kind of guy.
Some guy who actually pushes back on Kyle. And frankly, I don't think Jimmy ever did. Maybe he did privately, but I don't think he did hard enough. And I don't know. Trey was so young and he seemed like a bit of a people pleaser. I don't know that he ever did either. So Brock has this kind of like, I'm not saying he's an asshole, in a good way, the way I am. Like, I like it. I like it very much. He doesn't seem to care. It's not that he doesn't care. He seems like he understands that this is the role of a quarterback. Yeah. I got to be this kind of a leader, not because that's who I want to be, because who who the team needs me to be. Even the coach needs me to be that way. I like it.
He seems like a student of the game, and he understands that most of the best, all of the great quarterbacks in the history of this game have had that about them, about their leadership. One real quick point that I want to just mention, because we hear it all the time, when it comes to Trey Lance has never led a 2-minute drive. He actually did in the first half against the Texans. Yeah,
I mean, people talked about that when he was coming out as a reason that
but
he
wasn't
still ready.
It. Right, yeah, you still hear people say it, and he did do it against the Texans. So I do like to.
He did it well too.
Yeah, really well. Yeah,
at the end of the first half. Mm-hmm. Flave says, I think Niners will play Lions if 3 seed, Giants if 2 seed. 2 seed would be nice. Not sure Vikings lose another game though. How much do you think it matters? I think it matters. It seems like just the extra travel, having to go to Minnesota before playing Philly, makes that Philly game tougher if you make it there. Because what do? Do you go home? Do you stay out there and practice in Youngstown? Like, neither one sounds like a great option. So, yeah. And also, the Lions look legitimately good. I mean, the Lions look better than the Giants right now. They do.
Can I wanted to say, like, we've heard a lot about frauds this, frauds that all weekend in regards to teams. Yeah. And although I think the Niners are I'm not worried about any team in the NFC outside of the Eagles at this point, based on what I've seen. But that doesn't mean that these teams are frauds. I mean, they still won those games somehow. I think the Niners are going to win. The only team that gives me issue in the NFC is the Phillies, no matter who the 49ers go against, whether they're at home or on the road. But
the Phillies?
Philly, Eagles. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. That's good. It's because you're wearing that Giants hat.
Yeah. No, but I think, even though I'm confident that they can beat all these teams in the NFC, Niner fans are pretty cocky, and it does worry me a little bit. Like, I'm glad I'm assuming the 49ers are not dismissive over teams like the fans are. So just be careful.
Michael says, where do you think the Niners would be if Trey Lance never got hurt? I think they'd be in the same position they're in right now. I think he would have improved. I think Kyle Shanahan would have got a better feeling for how to use him. I mean, he was definitely figuring that one out at the beginning of the season. They started slow anyway. I think this 7-game win streak was going to happen one way or another with any quarterback on the team. Jimmy, Brock, Trey. I don't think there's some situation where Trey's like by far the worst quarterback on the team, and they just gave him the starting job for no good reason. I don't see it.
As good as Brock has been, this team is defense focused, and they have a ton of weapons on offense. And Kyle
Go
Shanahan
back and look at
makes
their
it-
yards per carry when Trey Lance was their quarterback, man. They were averaging like damn near 6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mo says, hey, Grant, do you think if Brock played in the playoffs last year, he would have won those games more convincingly? And what do you think of his awareness? I don't know, man. Brock was a 21-year-old college quarterback last year. But maybe. I don't know. This team does have a way of making quarterbacks look better than they are. But
Yeah.
I can't answer these hypotheticals. It's tough, man. You guys are taking these hypotheticals to a whole nother level. What if he was the quarterback last year? I don't know.
A whole
I don't know.
never
I don't know.
level. Do you ever see that, Key and Peele?
Yeah. Have the Niners clinched home field? I need to know for plane tickets. No, absolutely not. I mean, the first round, essentially, yes, I think. But they're not going to lose the next 3 games.
No.
Don't put your plane tickets on me. I'm not responsible for your plane tickets. All right. What does the Niners defense need to work on down the stretch to be at its best come
There's
playoff?
2 things. The 2 things, I mean, the first one, a surprising statistic is how bad the 49ers are on 3rd and short. They're actually they're number 1 defense in the NFL, but they're like almost the worst, I think, at 3rd and short, which is surprising. So that's definitely something that
You know who can fix that?
Kinlaw.
Kinlaw.
Yeah. So
Who's
Kinlaw
supposed to start practicing tomorrow. So that doesn't mean he'll play this week. They have a 3-week window, but Kinlaw.
I wouldn't play Kinlaw until
Take your time.
Yeah.
I would say week 18 is the first game just to get his feet underneath him, that he's ready for the playoffs, because that's when you need him. You need him for the playoffs.
Yeah.
For this reason.
Yeah. So 3rd and short is something they definitely need to improve.
Yeah.
The other thing is it hasn't been much of a factor this year, but it could have been multiple times, is the passing coverage, especially with like a mobile quarterback, guys that can buy time. So the reason why the passing defense has been so good has a lot to do with Nick Bosa and the pressure they're getting on the quarterback. So the corners don't have to cover for very long, but when they do, you're seeing a lot of receivers wide open. And like against Miami, Tua just was not able to capitalize. So he could have. You saw Patrick Mahomes tear him up. Now they were all injured. But as you get on to, if they play Philly, I could see it becoming a problem. If they play the Bills or the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, it could definitely be a problem. So those are the 2 main things that concern me with the defense.
Here's what I see with Hufanga. Well, because you mentioned the coverage. I'm talking Hufanga. So I think a lot of the DBs are expecting the ball to come out quick. This pass rush is overwhelming. Nick Bosa, no one can block him. There's going to be a lot of quick passes. So Hufanga in particular, corners, if they're playing man, have their back to the play. If they're playing press,
Yeah.
Hufanga's watching the play. And I think he's expecting the ball to come out quickly, and we're seeing him like jumping short routes a lot, breaking quickly on short routes a lot. And more often than not, that's a good strategy behind this D-line. It's the way to go, and you see probably Tart should have done a little bit more of that. Tart would kind of hang back, play his position, not make plays. Hufanga's making plays. That being said, if the quarterback or a team can actually get the ball down the field, block for a second, have some wide receivers, hit some long throws, he's giving them up. And if they're going to win the Super Bowl, they're going to be facing quarterbacks and teams that can do that. So Hufanga can't just play like this with reckless abandon and not respect the fact that some teams can go down the field. Most teams can't. I guess some teams can.
Yeah. Philly, Chiefs, Bills all have mobile quarterbacks that can capitalize in the passing game. So
and are looking to push the ball down the field, not looking to check it down, like a lot of quarterbacks are this year.
Yeah. So those 3 teams scare me the most. If they can get past Philly, then they get to the Super Bowl. It's another tough matchup in that regard.
I got one more thing I want the defense to work on. I mentioned earlier, it's defending the quarterback scramble, the quarterback run on 3rd and long, because it's been an issue for them, I feel like, for years. And I understand why it's an issue. The Niners have this wide 9 defense. And on 3rd down especially, what they like to do is they put 1 D-end way over here, and they put 3 D linemen on the other side of the center. And that D-end who's on his own usually screams so far upfield that you can just scramble right past him, up and around him. Or on the other side, they often do some type of 3-man game, and a lot of times they vacate the A-gap, and you can just run straight up the middle. So on 3rd and 13, it's happened in Atlanta, it happened against Seattle. downs where the Niners should get off the field easily, they give up these long scrambles, and I think that's a problem because, I mean, Josh Allen's going to take that. He's looking for that. Jalen Hurts is going to take that. He's looking for that. So if you give up a few of those that could be, it could happen in the fourth quarter. The Niners lost to the Broncos because Russell Wilson did that one time in the fourth quarter. So that's the one play that could end the 49ers season. They still feel they should have won the Super Bowl in 2019 had they gotten off the field on 3rd and 15. Well, okay. I mean, so what do? You have to assign a freaking spy to the quarterback. I don't think D'Amico does it. I assign a spy. He has to be a guy who's actually fast enough to run with quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts. To me, it's Dre Greenlaw. Fastest guy in your defense. He hits hard. He can do it. Give him the assignment.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it this week with Taylor Heineke, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers have struggled for, 5 years, or at least containing mobile quarterbacks. So it's definitely a problem. They need to fix it, especially going into the postseason where they're going to meet a lot of them.
All right. Final topic, and then we'll take some more questions. I think a lot of people are looking at the Niners, scratching their head, looking at their quarterback situation, like, well, what do you do if Brock plays well? What do you do with Trey? It seems to me, actually, I think the Niners have one of the best quarterback situations in the league. And I'll come back to why in a second, but let's talk about some terrible quarterback situations. Cardinals with Kyler Murray.
That's the worst one. Yeah.
Denver with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's bad. Oh, those are both bad. Yeah, I don't know which.
Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's not working. And they're on the hook for a lot of money for a lot of years with him. And then Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. Maybe that'll turn around. But these are guys who are making tons of money. And it's mostly guaranteed. And it's for a lot more years. And those 4 teams right now, you're looking at like, I don't know where you're going with this highly paid quarterback. The Niners, I mean, it seems to me that paying all that money for the quarterback who's not Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen can be a franchise crippler.
Yeah.
And the Niners, fortunately, are not in that situation. They have 2 young guys who can run their system. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what you want. And I can't help but notice that Philly has the same situation. Mm-hmm. Hell of a team, young quarterback, not paying him a lot of money. Team's freaking stacked. So you might argue the Niners are in a great spot at quarterback.
Oh yeah, I agree. And you've been actually talking about this for years in regards to
the market at quarterback.
Yeah, and it's
obscene. It's like, okay, it's a quarterback-driven league, so the quarterback has to be the highest-paid player. So every time a quarterback hits free agent market, he makes more than the last guy, and not just in gross money, but in salary cap percentage. Like these quarterbacks are making 15, 17, 19% of the cap.
Yeah,
that's too much. No one has ever won a Super Bowl doing that. And now, if you have a guy like Brock Purdy who's making $900,000 on a team like the Niners, hard to compete with that. It's hard to compete with that.
Yeah, if Brock Purdy continues to play the way he's playing right now, it almost seems criminal that what they're doing. $900,000 for that kind of play. That's nuts. And then if you throw in Trey Lance, even what Trey Lance is making, what is he making? Like $9 million or something like that?
Yeah. So combined, it's still one of the cheaper rooms in the country. I mean, in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, even $9 million doesn't seem that bad if you compare it to what some of these other teams are playing. So, yeah, I mean, less than $10 million for both quarterbacks, who I think both have a ton of potential. I really think Trey Lance has a really high ceiling, has the potential to be great. Whether or not he starts next year, I think it's going to be determined on how Brock Purdy finishes this season. But it doesn't really matter to me. I think at some point he's going to get his chance as well. And having both these quarterbacks at $10 million allows you to do things like re-sign Nick Bosa and Emmanuel Mosley.
Everyone.
Yeah, you can build up this team, and that's the strong position to be in. I think the league, but you're seeing it's changing. There's going to be a few, exceptions of where you get these all-time great type quarterbacks that are worth the money that you're paying them. But in general, it seems like you can get by with these young guys, just build the team around them. And just have a quarterback that's serviceable. And the 49ers, as great as Brock Purdy's playing, and we always forget, like we talked about a lot with Jimmy Garoppolo, that, hey, a lot of people gave him the win-loss record. Me and you, we were like, well, this team is really freaking good. Mm-hmm. So it makes it really easy on him. It's the same thing with Brock Purdy. I think we're forgetting that a little bit with Brock is he's got an elite defense. He has some of the best weapons in the NFL. And that's all because, they're not spending an arm and leg on quarterbacks anymore.
Right. And so I'm not saying that the Niners should one day make Brock Purdy the highest paid player in the league like they made Jimmy Garoppolo. I think I don't know about that. I haven't seen that kind of skill set from him, but it's all about price. I think it's a big, especially when the quarterback market has gotten out of whack, is the way I see it. It's outrageous, and it's getting worse. And it's getting so bad that I think it crippled 4 organizations this offseason. And there's going to be a market correction because you can't keep paying top 10, top 15 quarterbacks as if they're top 2. And even Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Kansas City's trending downward, in my opinion. Their defense isn't what it was. They lost Tyreek Hill. They don't have the weapons they used to have. Like, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers never won a Super Bowl making big bucks. It just seems like as this divide gets bigger, and more teams start looking for pro-ready, experienced, cheap college quarterbacks with lots of experience. I think there's more and more of those guys every year. You'll start seeing teams focus on building up the rest of their roster. And maybe you'll see this quarterback market come back down to earth. I don't know.
And I think, credit to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch for prioritizing defense. When they started 6 years ago, that's what their plan was. Let's build this defense as strong as possible first. And because they did that, they're able to get by with, you don't have to have Patrick Mahomes necessarily to be as competitive with a defense like this.
Absolutely not. And the thing is, if you have Patrick Mahomes, you're not going to have if you pay all this money for a quarterback, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot. You're either going to not have a defense. You'll either have weapons and no defense or a defense and no weapons eventually. And then you just can't compete with a team like the Niners or Philly that has everything.
Yeah.
They have everything because their quarterback's making $1 million or $1.5 million. What's Jalen Hurts? He was a 3rd-round pick. He's not making any money. Yeah. So that's why they have the best offensive line, the best defensive line, everything. And Kansas City, they have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and that's it. That's their team.
Yeah.
So they can get by on magic. They have a great record. They're 11-3 or whatever, but I think Buffalo probably has a better chance than this year purely because Josh Allen's making less money this year. He's making 7% of the cap. Mahomes making 17. So the Bills have number 2 defense in the league, and the freaking Chiefs have number 18. Like, funny how that works.
Yeah, it's directly related. Josh Allen is going to get paid at some point soon.
Oh, yeah, next year.
Yeah,
and
we'll
that
see.
Defense will be the same next year. They're going to start losing players. It's like, well, that's the price of doing business with the best quarterbacks in the league, and I just don't think it's worth it, man. I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's like
certain players, maybe guys like Mahomes are, maybe guys like Josh Allen might be, but maybe guys like Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, freaking Deshaun Watson, like no.
Kirk Cousins,
nope.
No. Derek Carr,
nope. Definitely not. No. Yeah.
Nope. So I'll be interesting, like quarterbacks who are set to hit the market this year. How does the market treat quarterbacks right now? Like, used to be, if you had a pulse and a track record as a starter, you were gonna get $15 million. Now teams might be looking at the Niners and Brock Purdy, being like, maybe we can get production for $900K. Maybe we can't look at Philly. I'm just saying. So that mid-tier quarterbacks they might lose some money this year.
Josh Allen might skew everything though, because he's going to get his bag for sure.
Well, yeah, he already got it, and he already got it. It's just the salary cap hits haven't hit in yet, but he got it. I don't know who's going to get paid the most, but like, for example, Baltimore, they've had this whole conundrum. What do we do with Lamar Jackson? You don't re-sign him. You don't do it. He's hurt right now. I'm sorry, because re-signing him means making him the highest paid quarterback in the league for a year. No.
And I like Lamar Jackson. And,
I like him too.
And his play style scares me for offering big money. I mean, it's dependent on running. And even though he's been pretty durable, despite being a big runner, it's scary for me to offer big contracts to quarterbacks that run a lot of the time. Yeah.
Paying Dak hasn't worked out for Dallas yet. They're a relevant team, but I mean, are they going to win a Super Bowl with Dak making all that money? I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
So, again, the Niners, I don't know if they saw this coming, but maybe they figured it out. They spent all this money on Jimmy Garoppolo, who was like this much better than Nick Mullins. And I'm sure Kyle was watching practice like $25 million, $1 million, $25 million. dude, I think we could run this offense with a really cheap quarterback. Let's give it a shot. And now they are. Because you don't ask that much of the freaking quarterback. Throw this screen pass. Throw that little. I mean, so many guys are wide open. There's so many short passes. It's a lot of yak. I'm just saying. There's a lot of good weapons. It's the best defense in the league. You don't need to spend a ton of money on a quarterback. You really don't.
You spend money on DNs, offensive linemen, and corners. That's where you spend your money, and you're stingy with the rest. Because I mean, even wide receivers now, like. I don't know how the Niners are going to look back on that Debo contract because they paid him a lot of money, and I don't know. We'll see. But paying wide receivers now is not even necessarily a thing that you really want to do because there seems to be a ton of wide receivers coming out of the NFL or coming out of college every year. Talented guys, you know.
Also, the Trey Lance thing is interesting. They drafted him because they wanted to turn him into Josh Allen, the next guy who would make $500 million on his contract extension. Well, that means you're spending the first 2 years developing him, and you're not really taking advantage of this cheat code, which is having the cheapest quarterback in the league. What's nice about Purdy, no development required. You get cheap quarterback play for the full 4 years of the rookie contract. That's really nice. No development, no project, maybe no upside. Maybe you don't give him the extension, but maybe that's okay. Maybe that's where the league is going, because if the alternative is giving someone like Kyler Murray $500 million with most of it guaranteed, I'll take the alternative. At least it gives you options.
Who's the best coach in the NFL now based on his history and career? I'm gonna say.
I would guess you have to say Bill Belichick, right?
Right, and what has his philosophy been his entire career? It's exactly what we're talking about. He doesn't pay guys.
Underpay. Don't overpay.
Yeah.
When he gets players that want to get paid, he's like, well, why don't you go get paid on this terrible team over there? And when you're tired of making money and losing, you could come right back over here and win for, what I deem market palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll sign you to your first and your third after you didn't live up to your second. Yeah.
That's pretty much how he does it. So when people say the Niners have a conundrum or they got to get rid of Trey, nah, man. They got 2 young quarterbacks that are both cheap. And that's a great position to have. They should probably look for a third. Just saying, because I think their formula is to have the highest paid defensive end, the highest paid left tackle, the highest paid fullback, the highest paid tight end, the highest paid wide receiver, or one of them, the highest paid linebacker, another highly paid linebacker, a really highly paid safety, a really highly paid. They want to be stacked everywhere but quarterback. So keep finding guys like Brock Purdy. If you can find one, find 2.
Yeah.
Seems like you can do it.
Yep.
And I love that they traded up to 3 last year, and they may have wanted Mac Jones, and someone in the organization was like, Kyle, first of all, we could have had Mac Jones at 12. And second of all, we could get you someone better than Mac Jones with literally the last pick in the draft next year. Can you be patient? And he's like, okay, fine. And then they got him. He's better than Mac Jones.
And who do you give that credit to again? Remind me, Brock Purdy. Who spotted Brock Purdy? Was it Reese?
It must have been the area scout. I mean, whoever is assigned to that area was the first guy on him. And then I think once he showed him to Brian Greasy, Clint Kubiak, everyone was like, oh, yes. Oh, yes. So I think there was early consensus from the people that, no. So,
good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hero Winchester says, my 5 to win the Super Bowl in 3 seasons would be Bosa, Greenlaw, Huff, CMC, and Trent. 2 for the offense. Okay. I would switch in Fred, George, and Debo if they were in Pro Bowl season. That was a good question. I like that. That was a good question. Ryan, you hearing anything else about Trey?
I have not asked recently. I tried to not ask.
Fair enough. Yeah. Because you're not using someone. You don't want to turn a relationship into that.
Everything I've ever heard has been come up in conversation. I didn't reach out and try to ask. Yeah,
I feel that. Don't Bother Me says, what are your thoughts on Brock starting and using Trey similar to the way the Saints use Hill, dual, and can Kyle scheme a dual quarterback offense? I wouldn't use him like they use Hill because Hill's really a running back over there, and that's how you got this guy hurt. But, there have been 2 quarterback systems in the past, and Kyle tried it 2 years ago. So it's definitely something that he might want to consider, especially if the Brock Purdy offense flatlines. I don't know. It's on the table, especially because Kyle put it there 2 years ago. I don't know.
I mean, he stopped doing it when Jimmy was quarterback because of, I think, like the team dynamics, the locker room dynamics. But I don't think that would be there with Brock like it was for Jimmy.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's kind of gimmicky and really has never done anything of relevance. Like no one's ever won a championship or anything like that using that system. So I'm not big on it personally.
Vincent says, why do you say Lance has a high ceiling when he had minimal play in college, 4 starts, and Grant keeps calling him a project? Trey's not Trey's fault, but front office. Why do I say he's a high ceiling? I mean, everyone says he's a high ceiling because of his
High ceiling.
athletic ability and his mental makeup and his size. And I mean, and he only had 1 year of experience in college, but he was undefeated and won the national championship. So, he just needs experience and eventually he'll either get it or he won't.
He's extremely talented. I mean,
and he has played better in his short career than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
Grant, tell Jed don't pay quarterback more than $35 million. Jed listens to me. That's the best part about what I do. Jack Jackson says maybe Tom Brady can become the model. However, teams have to really use the money a quarterback doesn't take to get good players. Not all teams will do that. And not all teams are good at it. The Niners have actually, they've wasted a lot of their draft picks and stuff, but frankly, they've still put together one of the best rosters in the league. Them and Philly are doing it right. New England isn't. They have a cheap quarterback, and they've given him no weapons. The defense is good, but where are the weapons for Mac Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Where? I don't see him. David Velez says, how that working out for Bill Belichick right now? His genius was that he had Tom Brady. Belichick looks like an average coach now. Well, he has no idea how to add weapons to his offense, and his offensive coordinator is a defensive coordinator. So, yeah.
But I will say, Tom Brady, he's gotten paid, but he never got Kyler Murray money. Tom Brady would sacrifice, right? He could have got more money than he got paid, but he was sacrificing for the benefit of the team. So Tom Brady was on board with Bill Belichick in the model of, he sacrificed money. He could have got paid more money than he got paid, but he sacrificed in order to put people around him.
That's true. All right, the next question is, how much would the Niners eat if they traded Debo? Okay, let's find out. Trade Debo pre-June 1. They would eat $28 million in dead money, but they would also create $19.7 million in cap savings. So I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're stuck with Debo. His cap number next year is $8 million, so he's not hurting you. It's in 2024 when his cap number is $28 million. $28.5 million in 2024. So they're going to have to make a decision about him by then. I think he's good for 1 more year.
They're going to have to figure out Ayuk around that time as well. So they're going to have to decide between the two. They can't have both at that price.
I don't think so. SoCal Niners, especially if they run the ball as much as they do. For everyone in the chat talking about Brady, he wasn't as expensive as you all think, and his defense helped win about 4 of those rings.
Yep.
And he was the best quarterback of all time. Like, no one else has had sustained success in the salary cap era other than Brady. Not Belichick, not nobody. Not even Peyton Manning. It was just Belichick. It was just Brady.
And he was a 6th-round pick when he started, and he won a Super Bowl in his second year.
He was cheap for 3 of his. Yeah, he was cheap for.
Yeah.
He was cheap. He was one of the original guys. Him and Kurt Warner won when they were dirt cheap. Russell Wilson won dirt cheap. Aaron Rodgers won relatively cheap. Brady's the only one who really had these sustained success making $20+ million a year because he's freaking Tom Brady. Yeah. And he had Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of the show, but this is the last comment aloud. What percentage of the players in this league do you really feel care about winning a Super Bowl? That's a great question. Probably less than the 1970s and 80s. I think a lot of people in the league today have figured out by the time they were 11 or 12 that if they're going to be millionaires, it would be playing football. So, I mean, why would you not do something that would provide for your family and give you the best life? So that's why it's tough for these teams to figure out who really is driven and wants to be the best and who deserves these contracts, because they all market themselves as I'm a throwback and I'm passionate and I love it and da-da-da-da. But then you get so many guys that get the bag and it's like, well, I also like being a celebrity. I also need to stay healthy.
I think most of them all want to win the Super Bowl, but a large number of them their priority is getting paid.
I want to win a Super Bowl, but I'm not committed to it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Kidding? I would love to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Dream of mine. Not going to happen, though.
Yeah. I'd love to win the Super Bowl, but I need to get my bag.
Yeah. So I feel like you see a lot of people, their demeanor, their game changes after they get the bag, and that's why but it's so hard to predict. Every time one of these guys will come up for free agency, I'm like, Niners gotta sign him, gotta do right by this guy, and then it's like, oh yeah, we probably should have saw that coming.
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe that was an emotional decision. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yep.
Yeah. So thanks for the question. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you watch Ryan Hensley, who has 1,000 subscribers. He is taking super chats on YouTube. His channel is official. He does a show damn near every morning, 8 o'clock Pacific. Check him out. He does great work.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I had Grant on this morning. I have 1,720 subscribers now. And we had Grant on this morning, Jack Hammer, Steph Sanchez. So every morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.
That's a lot. I overslept this morning and I missed it.
He was there 5 minutes late, but still there, and it was appreciated.
I went from in my bed to face washed, cup of coffee on stream in 7, maybe 8 minutes. Which I was proud.
On.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you later.